bottom line is, man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look, Goins, he hits it! What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Cunningham.
Jameson Williams, he's got it! Touchdown, Lions! Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores! Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
You know, that ride, that gold medal ride, continues to make its way through the media, and you see how these guys have handled it, and it's not going to stop for a while now, which is great. And I love the way many of them have come out and continue to show what their brotherhood was really all about. Welcome, everybody, on a Tullymore Thursday. Hey, glad you're with us. It's awesome to be part of X's and Bros Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. The Meyer hotline is always open for you, 866-838-4843. Our text line welcomes your thoughts as well. Sports Radio 21,000. My name is Matt Shepard. MSU is going to return to the floor tonight. They're at Purdue to take on the Boilermakers for their first meeting. Both teams 22-5 on the year. Both teams 12-5 in conference play. 12 of Purdue's 22 wins have come at Mackey so far this year. They are beatable there. They've lost 3 games at home this season. Pistons were at home last night and were winners over Oklahoma City. 124-116. Jalen Duren goes nuts. 29 points, 14 boards. It is his third straight 20-10 double-double. It is his 27th double-double on the year. Cade Cunningham notches his 31st in the same category, beyond a 29.13 assist performance. We told you he would respond, and he did respond. This team needs Cade Cunningham to score. How he scores, I do not care. I don't care if it's from the floor, from deep, or from the free throw line.
Yeah, they all count
the
same,
He must
right?
score. He has to be a guy who gets in the points column, because this team, you know, we've talked about Batman and Robin and all this other stuff and how many other teams have that luxury, if you will. Well, Jalen Duren can be the Robin. His numbers over the last 3 games since he came off suspension are really impressive. We'll get to that here in a moment. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter who's the Robin. When you're the Batman, you have to lead that team. I'm not saying you got to lead the team in scoring every single night, but you've got to be an impactful scorer from this team. There's a difference between a shooter and a scorer. Cade Cunningham is a scorer and has to continue that way. They're going to host Cleveland Friday night. Detroit is, by the way, 19-7 against teams with winning records. Okay? So that's an important statistic. 19-7 against teams who are over 500. Speaking of Cleveland, and this is what we said the other day. We've said it really all season long, and that is, you know, teams stubbed their toes a little bit. Last night, what happened? Cleveland went to Milwaukee and lost by a bucket. Now, Cleveland's been playing really good basketball. I mean, outstanding basketball. They had won 9 of their previous 10, but they drop another game back of Detroit at 7.5 back in the division and in the conference. It's a Milwaukee team that plays with without Giannis Antetokounmpo, but has suddenly played better. I mean, they're a game away from getting in the play-in at number 10 because they've won 8 of their last 10. But still, when you look at it and you think, okay, Allen, Mitchell, they play without Harden because of the hand. How do you lose to that team? Because it's the NBA and because it's sports and things happen that way. Dennis Schroeder, by the way, the former Piston, had 26 for Cleveland last night. So keep that in mind as you look forward to watching the Cavs invade LCA on Friday. Red Wings are going to visit Ottawa to start a 3-game road trip that's going to take them to Carolina and Nashville as well. 24 left on the regular season slate. The trade deadline is March 6th, and we talked with Max Bultman about that yesterday. If you missed any of it, check it out on our podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Tigers had a split squad on Wednesday, tying the Blue Jays 4-4 on Theron Lorenzo's 3-run homer, but also losing 5-3 to the Phillies. That means Detroit is, not that this is a big deal, okay? They're 0-4-2 on the spring so far. 0-4-2, and they're back at it again today. When you look at the Pistons from last night, and you know that OKC, here's what the narrative is going to be outside of Detroit. So you have to come to grips with it. You probably heard it a lot depending on which broadcast you watched last night. So I was flipping back and forth a little bit. I like the national perspective. I like to see what they're saying about our guys to see how we can either combat that or how it validates what we feel. And I would rather watch a home broadcast in just about any sport in any market, because it should be more informative. They should know more about the players. They should give you better inside stories. But the national perspective, or in this case, ESPN, keeps the entire league in mind and is supposed to, that's underlined, that's bolded, that's italicized. They're supposed to be objective. Can they do that? That's a tough thing to do these days in just about anything. OKC was without, as they put on a graphic, basically their starting lineup. They played Detroit with backups and yet made pushes and kept it really close. And, well, quite honestly, if that were me, if that were my team, I'd be really proud because of how they took the best team in the Eastern Conference, and some could argue the best team in the NBA, despite the loss to San Antonio 48 hours earlier, to the limit. And yet, even though they lost, there is a little wiggle room there for a very bright spot, especially if you get guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams and Alex Caruso and Hartenstein and all these different guys who were out for OKC. That will be the national narrative. When you and I look at this, maybe a month from now, we probably forget that, because you're looking down the win-loss column, the schedule, and you're seeing the teams that you beat and the teams that you lost to. We don't bring up that Isaiah Stewart was out because you don't make excuses. The other team shouldn't make excuses either. In the words of a former Major League Baseball friend of mine, they drive Mercedes too. So it's a really, I love the victory. I love the bounce back. I love the take charge type feel that Cade Cunningham played with, and a sense of urgency. Had as many points through 3 quarters last night as he had the entire game against San Antonio. There are some things that you can be concerned about, though. You can't be blinded by it either. It's okay to feel warm and fuzzy. It's okay for us to go, you know what? That's a nice bounce back in response to a loss, because they don't lose back-to-back games. But there are a few statistics that might make you look at it and say, you know what? They've got to shore this up against better teams. I'm going to give you those statistics when we come back. We've also got the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. A little bit later on, 8:35, we will head to Indianapolis, the NFL Combine. Man, it seems like there's a lot of players talking to the Lions. Ian Cummings from the Pro Football Network will join us to talk NFL Combine as we roll on a Tullymore Thursday here on X's and Bros, brought to you this hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here with an invitation for everybody to join the Grand Rapids Griffins and Van Andel Institute for the Purple Community Game, which is coming up on March 13th in downtown Grand Rapids. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute, and you'll have a chance to bid on limited edition Purple Griffins jerseys. You can learn more at vai.org/events.
Just locking in for the whole 48 minutes. Locking into the game plan, paying attention to the details, and doing everything that we know we can do, holding ourselves to play at our standard the whole game. It's a simple fix, but we just got to be locked in to do it.
You know, there were some really good moments where we did the things that we needed to do. And then there was times where, you know, I felt like we let them back in the game. But, you know, again, our guys find a way and they do the right thing. Their heart's in the right place. They're trying to do the things we ask them to do. So again, we'll watch the film and continue to move on.
Cade Cunningham and J.B. Bickerstaff. J.B. Bickerstaff losing his voice right there. You know, I mean,
sounds like Tom Izzo.
It does. That's who I thought it was at first. I thought to myself, wait a minute, Trent's playing Tom Izzo when they haven't even played Purdue yet. That's exactly what you got. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Good to be with you. Here's the concern, and every team's got it. All right, this is not necessarily a negative per se. But when the opposing team is getting over 30-second chance scoring points, that should be concerning to people. When a team is allowing 17, 18 threes in a game, that should be concerning for their fan base. And that's what's happened in the last 3 games, starting with the most recent, all right? 18, 18, 17. The Bulls scored 17 triples. The Spurs scored 18 triples. OKC had 18 triples. Okay? So that is something this team, look, you learn from winning, you learn from losing. All right? There's nothing wrong with that. Something you've got to fix. Cunningham, by the way, as we mentioned, we gave you his stat line. 4 straight games with at least 10 assists and 2 blocks. We have said this for a little bit more than a year now. His defense is better than he gets credit for. His passing is better than what he gets credit for. We view him as a scorer and a shooter, a leader, a distributor, and so on and so forth. He's a very gifted passer. Like, let's just don't look at assists per game and think, okay, that guy's a really good passer. Watch the way he creates space for others around him, and watch how he delivers the basketball at the right time in the right place. It's not always perfect. Nobody is, for crying out loud. But when you see Cade Cunningham deliver a pass and a guy needs it chest high so he doesn't have to reach down, then come up, give the defender chance to close out, and then take the shot, it's big. He's delivering it where he needs to be, so it's a catch and shoot like situation. In the meantime, and by the way, he and Jalen Duren combined, their numbers, 58 points, 20 boards, 15 assists, 3 steals, 4 blocks. That's the 2 of them combined. Duren has been unreal over his last 3 games. Let me give you his numbers. 29 points, 15 boards, 12 of 17 shooting. San Antonio, 25 points, 14 boards, 10 of 13 shooting. And again, Chicago, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 12 of 20 shooting. A little bit of an off night there, I suppose. Overall, he has been awesome. And I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, what does this mean? It's a great question. Some people feel like the strength is in the West. And we got a text from Freddie. Freddie, a little bit earlier today. So getting that restaurant open. Can't wait for people to get in there and enjoy his best pizza that you can possibly find. Trust me when I tell you, it's phenomenal. He said, what would have happened if OKC's top 3 players played last night? Because we saw that against San Antonio. My argument back to Freddie was you could argue it's the top 4. Jalen Williams. They have 2 Jalen Williamses. The Jalen Williams, who's the defensive player of the year and an all-star, wasn't playing. The Jalen Williams with a Y and an I was playing last night and had a career high. So they played without Jalen Williams. They played without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They played without Chet Holmgren, and they played without Isaiah Hartenstein. Alex Caruso, not at 100%, right? So you look at that, and I know some people will be like, Shep, what are you talking about? I mean, I see Jalen Williams right here in the box score. Like I said, It's Jaylin compared to Jalen. All right. So you miss all that. Caruso didn't play, left ankle. You could argue they're top 5 players, and that's what the national broadcast did last night. Will it be different when they play OKC next week? I don't know what their status is. I don't know what the status is of each one of those guys, because Caruso had played the night before in Toronto when they won. Gilgeous-Alexander is out with an abdomen. Hartenstein's out with a calf. Holmgren's out with a back. Jalen Williams is out with a hamstring. Jay Mitchell, he's out with an abdomen. I don't know what that means anymore. Isaiah Joe left at halftime with a bruised hip. If you're Oklahoma City, you just proved something last night. Don't kid yourself. Now, you can't automatically take, well, this guy averages this, insert it into the final score. You don't do that, because they would be taking shots away from the guys who kept it close enough to give that team 116 points. So I don't really look at it that way. You cannot deny the loss of high-end players, though. It's a tough one. If you and I are going to tell everybody who will listen, not making excuses for losing to San Antonio because you didn't have Isaiah Stewart, but it is a factor. It's okay to bring it up. You just don't use it as an excuse. If we're going to do that, then you can understand why OKC would do the same by losing not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, even 6 of their best players. And they are. I mean, Jay Mitchell is one of their 6, 7 best players. Okay. So, and then you get a guy who fills in for him as a starter, and he has to leave at halftime. It's a factor. Doesn't mean Detroit wouldn't have won. Who knows what happens if they do win? You can't just automatically assume, but you never know. Another text. I didn't hear fans ask if they had Stu versus San Antonio. Pistons Robin needs to be a Holmgren type player, a shooter from the outside. Yeah, look, I would say Oklahoma City's Robin is probably more Jalen Williams than Chet Holmgren. But to your point, Chet Holmgren is what most NBA teams covet if they don't have it already. And that's the stretch 4. I don't disagree with you on that at all. I think it's probably more of a shooter. And a guy like Duncan Robinson is supposed to be that. But in a perfect world, you acquire a guy who is tall, long, can post up, but also is a 3-point shooting threat. Pistons have a fun story, says this text, but Pistons fans are delusional when it comes to this starting lineup competing in the playoffs when the game is completely differently. A lot of this depends on how they call the game. This team is physical. I love that about them. Not because of the bad boys or they're going to work. I miss those days in the NBA. How the game was called the other night against San Antonio is, I hope, how the game will be called moving forward. It won't be. And I think that's what the texter's point is. It won't be. So does that hold them back? I had an interesting conversation with a buddy of mine yesterday. I'll share that with you. We'll get into that. Jack Hughes continues to bask in that gold goal shining moment, and for good reason. And we talk football in the 8 o'clock hour from the Combine. Ian Cummings will join us from the Pro Football Network here on X's and Bros.
Save a good deal more during the Meijer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each, like extra large navel oranges, Meijer frozen personal pizza, and Meijer facial tissue. And now, shopping dollar deals in our weekly ad just got easier. Click an item and add it to your cart. It's that simple. The Meijer Dollar Deal Sale and an easier way to shop our digital ad. That's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Ferris Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
For a lot of people, it's best player on the best team. And so that would give Cade the award, at least headed into last night. To me, it's if I took that guy off that team, what would that team look like? To me, Detroit, they'd be probably a play-in team at best.
But that's really not what it's about. Welcome back, X's and Bros, throughout the state of Michigan. That's Stan Van Gundy, the former home wrecker of Detroit Pistons, is what how I would refer to him. You know, a guy who used to be the head coach and the general manager and just ruined this franchise.
You had a front row seat for that, Shep.
Yeah, it was. You know, it got, for me, it got really old. I always used to say, if that dude cared as much about putting together a basketball team as he cared about some of the other things that he loved to talk to the media about, then the Pistons would have been no problem. Yeah. Instead, you know, he was so focused on some other things that, you know, just leave it at the door and worry about basketball. But he said, look, I have my doubts about the Pistons in the playoffs. When teams really lock in and prepare, I think it's going to be hard for Cade Cunningham to get room on the floor. There's no one other than Duncan Robinson who scares you on that team. Those are some of the things that he said in a podcast not too long ago. Look, if that's his feeling, that's fine. I don't have any issue with that. You don't have to. Let's not be too sensitive here, where if you have a problem with my team or my guy, that I'm up in arms. I can't believe you. I can't believe you wouldn't consider this. I can't believe you don't support this. I can't believe you don't agree with me. It's kind of like the people who can't believe that Cade Cunningham is the MVP. I think he is. Okay. Do you really think that somebody in Denver who says Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world doesn't have an argument? If you don't think people in Boston have an argument for Jaylen Brown, you don't think people in Oklahoma City have an argument for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? They may not qualify, two of those players, because of the amount of games that they missed, and you have to play 65. That's the rule. But they can still have that opinion, and it's a fair opinion. If you said Luka Doncic, I'd have to punch you in the liver. But you could understand that. And if you can't understand that, you are being way too protective. You need to open your mind a little bit more. I think Cade Cunningham's the most valuable player in the NBA. Doesn't mean I think he's the best player. I think he's the most valuable player.
Well, yeah, it's a different thing. Do you think
it's a completely different thing?
Do you think it's a two-man race?
I think it's right now. I think it's a three-man race. It should be a four-man race, but it's a three-man race because Jaylen Brown deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, I had this debate with somebody the other day, and they're like, you know, they're a huge Cade Cunningham fan. That's fine. Who isn't? I am. I'm a huge Cade Cunningham fan.
Very fun to watch. Yep.
He's fantastic. Jaylen Brown is fourth in the league in scoring on a team that is without its number one player, supposedly, and third in the Eastern Conference. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Okay. He's averaging 29 points per game. He's also shooting 48% from the floor, which for a guard is pretty damn good. 34% from three. He's also averaging 7 boards and 5 assists. I think Tyrese Maxey is having a hell of a season.
Well, especially scoring the basketball. My goodness.
Well, I mean, that's what you need. And would be Philly be in the 6th place in the East without a guy like Maxey? Hell no. I mean, Boston is second. I said third. They're second in the East. They're 5.5 back. Close your eyes for just a moment, and I tell you, this team is 18 games above 500. They've won 8 of their last 10, and they have the second best record against their conference opponents. They're also without their number one option. Now, they have Derek White. Okay. They have some other guys who have helped
Peyton
them.
Pritchard off the bench.
Peyton Pritchard's been really good. Okay. Average, he's second on the team. They added Vucevic, which is great. Jaylen Brown has held that team together by playing 34 minutes a game. If you don't think he belongs in the MVP conversation, I'd like to know who does. So I have no problem with that. Stan Van Gundy wants to take that position. That's okay. Here's my issue with what Stan Van Gundy had to say, though. When he's talking about there's nobody else who scares you, I hope he's referring to strictly the perimeter. And he would be right. Asar Thompson's not a three-point threat. Ron Holland's not a three-point threat. When I say that, it doesn't mean that I don't think they can't make a triple. It means when the opposing coach is talking to his team in the locker room before the game and reintroducing the scouting report, it is not make sure you close out on the three on Asar Thompson.
Hell
Please
no.
make sure that you don't leave a guy like Ron Holland alone in the corner because he's going to kill us with it where Duncan Robinson is. That doesn't mean that nobody else should scare you, though. If you don't, Jalen Duren's ability to scare you is real. But because he's a low post player and because they don't necessarily run the offense through him, most people don't look at him as
a threat. Well, it's
or
less,
a Robin.
It's less flashy. That's for sure.
For sure.
You're exactly right about the Asar Thompsons and the Ron Hollands of this team. It's like those guys, like just because they can't hit threes doesn't mean you can't also appreciate what else they bring to this team, which is the number one team in the East. And like you and I aren't denying that, but we've been preaching that all year. Like any of you out there who haven't watched this team, check them out, man. Because even though Asar Thompson and Ron Holland can't hit a three, like
I don't know if you haven't watched,
they're
this
still
team
very
yet,
impactful on the game.
There's really no hope for you. I mean, if there's anybody listening to the show and this team is 57 games deep into an 82 game slate and they're 43-14 and you haven't watched them, I can't help you.
Well, I'm just
and
saying
that's okay.
it's the
You may not like the NBA. That's fine.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and push and push and push, but they're a fun team to watch.
Certain people
the
just
game
won't get
against
the
San
NBA
Antonio.
chance.
Yeah, the game against San Antonio the other night was one of the more entertaining games you'll see all season long. I don't care what teams are playing. It's one of the more entertaining games you'll have seen all season long. But there is, look, deep down inside, there's a part of me that agrees with, Freddie just sent us another text that says, Trajan Langdon has a ton of work to build an NBA team around Cade Cunningham in the next 2 years, or he may leave. I don't think he will. I'm not worried about that. But it's a very fraudulent team. It tries hard, and kudos to that. Talent does win. I'm sorry.
Do you think
that?
Well,
I think no. I think this is not a team that just tries hard. Okay, this team is connected defensively, second best defensive efficiency there is. They're not a good 3-point shooting team. Okay, you got to find a way to score in other ways. I can't hear people say, you know what? I hate the fact that the league is all 3 points and dunks, and then not appreciate how good Tobias Harris is at his mid-range jumper, how good Cade Cunningham is at decking, driving, and sometime kicking. I can't say that this team I enjoy because of how much Ron Holland is able to knock down 10 to 12 footers. It doesn't always have to be 3-point shooting for me. That said, to Freddie's point, you do need balance and you do need threats, and everybody else has them. Detroit doesn't have that 3-point shooting threat as much without a guy like Duncan Robinson, which many people would then believe, okay, knowing that Malik Beasley is able to come back and knowing that Chris Middleton, who if he gets, waived by Dallas, could be available, would you add them to your roster? Beasley for me, yes. Middleton, probably no.
Why not? Just curious.
Well, look, he's averaging, I think, 11 points and shooting at about 30, close to 38%.
He's old, there's no doubt, but
yeah,
I would
and
take him.
It's not as much. It's not as much about the age. It's about his
productivity.
Well, it's the up and down pace of the way this team plays compared to what he has played.
Well, that's actually a really good point because everything Freddie mentioned, and I appreciate Freddie's perspective, but yeah, this team is built on like athleticism, and defense.
Yeah,
and a guy
I don't
like Chris Middleton doesn't really
I think
fit
there's
in
too
there.
many times. I mean, we get caught up in if a team's not a good shooting team, how are they winning? Well, this team only wins with defense. That's not true. This team is a better team than that. I don't think this team is can be categorized as a team that is strictly all effort.
Well, you don't want to minimize them to that because it's almost it is kind of chastising, right? To say, oh, they play hard. They play really hard. No, they're a lot better than that, man. They are the one seed in the East for a good reason.
Look, you don't get to the number one seed and you don't get to this record, 43-14.
At this point in the year.
At this point in the season, by just owning the defensive side of the floor. They are 8th in the league in scoring, for what that's worth. They are 7th in the league in field goal percentage. And I think those are important statistics. But the problem people have is that they are below the middle of the pack in three-point shooting. They win because they share the basketball and they rebound the basketball. 6th in rebounding, and a team that loves to share the basketball, they are right around 10 or 11 in that regard. Okay? So is defense their calling card? I would say yes.
Yes, for sure.
They lead the league in blocks. They lead the league in steals. That's great. They take good care of the basketball. I think that, for the most part, is important. You're averaging about, I think, 14 turns per game. But they need Cade Cunningham. And anybody who doesn't see that is blind when it comes to basketball. I mean, and it's okay to admit that.
And he very well could be the MVP.
Okay.
And when you have an MVP caliber player and you have the defense this team has, the sky's the limit. That's my opinion.
You're not winning the MVP if you're not a scorer, and that's who he has to be.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's why they lost to San Antonio. 5 for 26.
Bad shooting
only
night,
16
yeah.
points. You cannot bad shooting night from everybody, but especially from your best player. I know that's a lot of pressure. I get that. This is what happens when you have and are considered among the best in the world. The pressure rises. I don't know if people saw this, but the interviews with Connor McDavid yesterday or 2 days ago were all about, hey, listen, you've come up short in the major junior. You have come up short with Team Canada. You have come up short with the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals. Winning is hard, right? And his response is, yeah, it is. It's really hard. You just keep trying. You keep getting after it, okay? In order for Edmonton, in order for Team Canada, perhaps you could say, in order for that to all happen, that player must be the best player on the ice. That player must score. It's not that unusual.
And it's not that much to ask. Like, they want that.
We do that all the time we do it all the time in football. How are you going to Philly? Probably Philadelphia is a very rare exception, okay, because of their ability to run the ball and their defense. But when you look at it, you need your quarterback to be at his best.
No
and if
doubt.
he's not, it's going to be really hard to win the damn game. Baseball's not much different. If Tarek Skubal's not pitching well, the Tigers are probably in deep crap. Why? Because of their lineup. Let me get to a text. Go ahead. Fire away.
That's actually a really good segue. This says, Shep, is it a hot take to think Valdez might be better than Skubal this season?
No. Yeah, that's a very hot take. I don't think that's the case at all. Tarek Skubal's the number one pitcher in the world. Framber Valdez is not even a top 10 pitcher. Does that make sense?
It does. It does to me. I do understand where they're coming from, maybe. And I'm kind of looking into that. Well, just because I think that, not to use the cliche, but maybe water finds its level a little bit. Like, Tarek Skubal's still very, very good. And any given day, any given series, you're going to bet on him for sure. But I could see a world where, like, Framber Valdez has better numbers. I don't think that's going to happen.
Casey Mize had more wins than Tarek Skubal. That doesn't mean that
he was better. Yeah, I got you.
I mean,
I agree.
Let me ask you this. Would you take Sonny Gray over Tarek Skubal?
No.
Okay. Sonny Gray had more wins than Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, no. So I agree
So
with
I
you.
don't care about the numbers. I mean, if you look at it, maybe I'm a little hyperbolic here, but just off the top of my head, if you look at obviously Tarek Skubal, if you looked at Max Fried, if you looked at Carlos Rodon, if you looked at Garrett Crochet, if you looked at Freddie Peralta, if you looked at Christopher Sanchez, if you looked at Brian Wu, if you looked at
Shohei,
Jesus Luzardo. Okay. There's 8 guys, and I would have to do a deeper dive than that, who I would probably take. I might take not Jacob deGrom at this stage in his career, but you may take a Joe Ryan. You may take a Tanner Bybee. You may take a Nick Pivetta.
Yeah, maybe.
Somebody
well, just to go back to the question, Shep, is it a hot take to think he might have a better year?
It's a little hyperbolic. Framber Valdez, to say he's not a top 10 pitcher might be a little strong. He's right around there, where Tarek Skubal is number 1, right? Paul Skeens is number 2. I didn't even mention Paul Skeens, and he should be the first name out of my mouth. But I think I could name 10 pitchers that I would probably take over Framber Valdez, including his former teammate, Hunter Brown. Doesn't mean, by the way, this does not mean I wouldn't want Framber Valdez. I said I wanted him. I said that's the guy I want the Tigers to sign, and I like that he's there. And I'd take probably Luis Castillo over him. I would probably take, depending on the health, you want Corbin Burns. There's plenty of guys. Logan Gilbert I really like a lot, right? So it's not a knock on Framber Valdez. He's not a better pitcher. That said, your explanation is, could he have a better year? Sure, it's possible. I mean, Tarek Skubal could get hurt. He's been hurt before. He doesn't get a lot of run support. So if you're looking at it from a win standpoint, I'm just talking about from an ERA and from a FIP and from a WAR and from a WHIP standpoint, walks, hits per innings pitch, you're not beating Tarek Skubal if you're Framber Valdez. Maybe the offense is a little different that day, depending on who the other opposing pitcher is. Who knows?
Do you think it's close? Or are you pretty dug in with, Skubal's going to have another Cy Young type year, Triple Crown type year?
He's given me no indication whatsoever
that he's slowing down.
He would slow down.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I do find the question interesting because I think Valdez is a son of a gun.
We would have to clarify what you mean by numbers. If he had a better year, what does that mean? Is he going to have a better ERA? No. Is he going to have a better WHIP? No. Is he going to have a better FIP? No.
He might get more wins.
WAR? No. But if all you're talking about is wins, absolutely it's possible. I don't think Logan Webb is I mean, he's a really good pitcher. Is he better than Tarek Skubal? No. I don't believe that. And yet, he had a couple more wins than Tarek Skubal. I don't think Max Fried's better than Tarek Skubal. But he had 6 more wins than Tarek Skubal. That's why that needs to be identified first, as far as I'm concerned. And speaking of the Tigers, we will get to that. We will get to that coming up here. There's a website that came out with the topped, or they ranked the offenses, the lineups. Where do you think Detroit's lineup is ranked? We'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros here on a Tullymore Thursday. And we're brought to you this hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The huge show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
What is it? Top of the hour, second hour here on X's and Bros. Thanks for being with us. 8:35. We will head down to the Combine in Indianapolis, and we will pick it up with Ian Cummings from the Pro Football Network. He is their draft guru. Lions have had a ton, and I mean a ton, of links to a number of different players. You're going to find that, right? I mean, you got all these different players down there. Detroit has a lot of players that they can choose from, and they're doing their due diligence in doing some interviews. Pistons winners last night, if you missed, a 124-116. Duran with his 27th double-double. Cunningham with his 31st. They're going to host Cleveland Friday night, and Cleveland lost in Milwaukee last night. Red Wings visit Ottawa to start a 3-game road trip tonight. Michigan State returns to the floor to jump against Purdue. Both teams 22 up, 5 down, 12-4 in conference play. Tigers split their squad yesterday, tied one game against the Jays, lost the game against the Phils. And our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question, and we just tweeted it out and retweeted it. Which player is most likely to be moved? Max Crosby, who many people feel is likely to be moved, but the Raiders have come out and said they don't plan on doing that. Kyler Murray, A.J. Brown, or Tua Tagovailoa. My answer would be Tua Tagovailoa. Miami's moving on from him. I don't think there's any question. I'm not sure about A.J. Brown. He's very cryptic, and that relationship with Philadelphia is an interesting one. Kyler Murray, I think, has worn out his welcome in Arizona, or maybe that's probably not fair. Maybe they just realized that it's not going to work with him.
Especially in that division. You know what I mean? They know what they're up against in that division alone, let alone the conference. And they're like,
but
we don't have a plan here.
What does that have to do with Kyler Murray?
I don't think they believe they can win in a conference where they have Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, and Sam Darnold, who just won a Super Bowl. That's where I'm at. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like if I'm the Cardinals GM, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how do we improve the quarterback situation?
Yeah, look, I've never been a Kyler Murray fan. I'm just trying to figure out. I think that's a defensive issue.
It's not a personal thing.
That's not an offensive issue. So let's just say you get rid of Kyler Murray, and I would if I'm Arizona. So I'm with you on this. I don't think that's their biggest problem, is my point.
Well,
I don't think the general manager for Arizona is looking at the conference or the division and going, holy crap, I've got Kyler Murray, they've got Matthew Stafford. I've got Kyler Murray, they've got Brock Purdy. How are we going to compete when they've got
I agree with you there. I just think it might be an easier fix.
I think it's the hardest fix in football.
But it's
finding
the
right quarterback is the hardest fix in football. And who's the answer? Like, it's easy for me to say I would move on from him.
But then
it's
who do
easy
you want?
for you to say. Now you got to tell me who fits. Are you going to go get Malik Willis and pay him $30 million a year, Trent? Or are you going to draft a quarterback? And if you're going to draft a quarterback, I want to know who the quarterback is.
Yeah, I'm not going to draft one. Let's get that out of the way.
So that's out of the way.
Yeah.
Now what?
I don't know. I would maybe, honestly, and I know you're going to hate this, I would tank for a year.
Okay, you can't do that. You
sure you can
do that. No, you can't. First of all,
they just did.
How did they tank?
They didn't care at all last season.
Well, hold on a sec. There's a difference. Tanking means you're purposely trying to lose. Caring or a lack of care by an organization, and I don't think you could ever get the guys who start or guys who play and dress on Sundays, the 48 guys, that you could get them in a room and say, we're tanking.
We're giving up. I know. Okay? I get that.
Jacoby Brissett, don't tell me he wasn't trying to win. They didn't tank.
Okay.
They weren't good enough. That's different.
They fired their whole staff. Yes, they were terrible. I agree.
They should fire their whole staff.
I hear you. I got you. Yeah, I'm just saying,
their whole staff was terrible.
I think.
So tell me, you couldn't do that because people they're not going to go to the game. You're going to get fined. You're not going to go to the game. Your players don't want to play for you, not just 1 year, but 2 years and down the road. You're having a hard time getting players there anyway.
Okay, but because that the situation is what it is with the quarterbacks, like there's not anyone really available. Like I could see them kind of punting, no pun intended, on the season. Maybe they don't tank, but they just kind of are what they are, and they don't really actively try to get any better for the rest of the offseason and they win 5 games.
You better have a really good plan in place if you think that you're just going to wait a year.
But you don't even know what that plan could be because you don't know where your pick would be.
That's why you can't do it.
But Shep, to your point, you can't draft a quarterback right now. You can't force it.
I never said you should.
I know. I'm just saying,
okay,
like you and I both
you're
agree.
Trying to tell me you're going to say, let's just this year let it play out, and we'll get our fix next year, even though we don't know where we'll pick.
Yeah,
and we don't know who's going to be good, because there's a lot of people who thought the Nussmeier kid was going to be a good player until he crapped his pants last year.
Okay,
at LSU.
but I would rather roll the dice.
Try and get you want Dante Moore? How much confidence do you have?
I would rather roll the dice, Shep, on next season than to force the issue and pick a quarterback this year when we both agree that this is a terrible quarterback draft.
I never said pick a quarterback.
But
I said
if your best option is Malik Willis, then
no, it's not. What's wrong with Mac Jones? Why wouldn't you go get Mac Jones?
I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, how about trading for Daniel Jones?
I just think it's a disaster.
Signing Daniel Jones. You don't know.
For quarterbacks.
All I'm saying is, if we're going to say this, I've stood fast by this for a long time. If you're going to say that I want to move on from a player, especially at that position, that's fine.
You got to give a solution.
I do too. You better have a solution. You can't just say, I don't want this guy, get rid of him, without having this isn't a backup safety we're talking about. We're not talking about a guy on special teams. We're talking about the most important position on your football team. And you and I, when I say we, you and I are saying move on from Kyler Murray. Okay.
But to your
then
point,
who
Shep,
is it? Are you going to play Jacoby Brissett's a free agent? Okay. Malik Willis is a free agent. Daniel Jones is a free agent. Go get Mac Jones. That's what I would do if I were them. I wouldn't worry about drafting a quarterback this year. I think it's a crappy class. I don't know what I would do next year, because all the people who feel like I can project on who's going to be good end up being wrong. There is no sure thing. How many people thought Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be the best wide receiver in football? A lot of people. Did he turn out to be that?
No,
hell
no.
Not.
I just feel like this offseason for quarterbacks specifically is one of the worst we've ever seen.
No question.
And I think that the Cardinals, looking at their division and the rest of the NFC, who just won the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they can feel good about, let's go get Malik Willis, and then we're going to be right there. We're going to be competitive. Like, I just don't. Maybe that's just me, but
I'm not asking you to go get Malik Willis, though. I wouldn't pay $30 million.
But Shep, I would rather wait the year. And I know that's crazy, and that's a hard sell for your team.
Somebody's got to take the snaps, dude. Someone has to go under center.
Jacoby Brissett did a great job of it last year. He took the snaps.
Yeah, great. They didn't win. Overused, but yeah, I mean, they didn't win. Yeah, I mean, sure up some other stuff. I wouldn't take a quarterback either.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying to you is you've got to have a plan, because you're going to go into training camp and there's going to be 89 other guys there, and the guys who are going to make this team, the 52 other guys, and they're going to say, who's the guy under center? We got to believe in him. And it's not going to be, with all due respect, Jacoby Brissett.
Right. And that, Shep, honestly, I will concede, because I completely, you understand that more than I do. I've never been at a training camp or something. So I understand that. I'm just simply saying, from a X's and O's standpoint, I don't think the Cardinals can feel good about moving on from Kyler Murray to whoever the hell they move on to, that they can feel good about actually competing. So in that case, I would just wait a year. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time, and see what you got next year. I don't know. Maybe there's a stud prospect. Maybe you win 4 games and you're picking number 1 overall next year. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. And
that
then
to me
maybe,
would be a better
maybe what you're
going
to do next year is you're going to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to shoehorn a guy in just because I need the guy. And that's why I don't think you can play that type of long game. Everybody thought Arch Manning was going to be a Heisman Trophy, not you and I, but I mean a lot of people in the media, and they put the proverbial cart before the horse.
Oh, it was exhausting.
And he's going to be available. After this college year, you don't know what that college season is going to be. So that's why you have to play for today. And if you draft a guy and you've got Mac Jones under contract on a 3-year deal, or a Daniel Jones on a 3-year deal, and you draft a guy and then can slowly bring him along, that's one thing. But you don't go into this season just going, you know what? Let's just hey, listen, Bobby, you played quarterback in high school. I know you're the long snapper, but why don't you take the snaps? Because you have more than just a team that you've got to build. You've got to build a fan base. You've got to build a following. You've got things that you have to achieve while building a team. It's not quite that easy. We will talk about the NFL Combine, and we will do that at 8:35 with Ian Cummings from Pro Football Network. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Meyer on a Tullymore Thursday.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Incredible experience and something I'll remember forever, the whole Olympic experience and being in the village, really close-knit group of guys, hanging out with them all the time, and then winning a gold medal just to cap it. Really special and so much fun. Feels amazing to be back home and, talk to everyone, see everyone, give everyone a big hug today walking in here and see how they accepted me back has been special. I'll also always remember that.
That's Dylan Larkin, his first day back with his team, his non-Olympic team, his Red Wings team, after the experience he got in winning an Olympic gold medal, and his teammates very, very happy for him, and for good reason. Larkin, the captain of the Red Wings, as you know, he was one of the more important players for Team USA. I did have a friend of mine who's from Canada 2 days ago said, yeah, but what did he really do? I said, what did he really do? Well, he won close to 70% of the faceoffs that he took. He was on the ice for the golden goal. I said he did score a couple of times for Team USA. I said he did a lot of things that you and I don't always recognize.
He must not have known who he asked that question to.
When you talk about what all these other guys, when you have other elite players, and we're talking about the best in the world, not the best in their league, the best in their world, saying that guy is the guy, you know damn well that he's an important piece to what they've done. All right. Now the question is, what is it you learn? And we asked this of Max Bultman yesterday. What is it you learn that you can take and almost carry that over to others? I don't care how long you've been a leader. I don't care how long you have been a great player. You can always learn from other great players. And he has done that. I mean, remember this, Zach Werenski, who I think is a top 5 defenseman in the world. Cale Makar's in that conversation. Quinn Hughes is in that conversation. This year, Mo Seider has stepped up to be part of that conversation. There are others, I'm sure. But I think Zach Werenski, I would argue, I think he's the 3rd best defenseman in the world. I have said Cale Makar, number 1. Look, Quinn Hughes may have overtaken him with his Olympic play. And I think Zach Werenski's right there. I love Jacob Slavin. I think the way he's played is outstanding. I'll take Mo Seider on a regular basis. He doesn't quite move the puck as well as Werenski or Hughes or Makar. Not many people do. Not many people ever have. Those guys remind most people of Paul Coffey and their gifted offensive ability. They're better defensively as defensemen than Paul Coffey, no question. But I digress. Zach Werenski said that Dylan Larkin's the heartbeat of our team. He may not be the best player on Team USA, but he's the heartbeat of our team, which is pretty awesome. Now what happens? Now, how does Dylan Larkin use probably what he gained from experience from Matthew Tkachuk, Austin Matthews? Name an Olympic player he was in the village with, that he was hanging out with. Those guys, it's not, the learning lessons don't come just when you're on the ice. The learning lessons oftentimes are more frequent when you are doing things off the ice together. And when you have that part of a receiving end, when you're on the receiving end of that part of it, how do you then carry that over to your team to help make it a difference maker, for you to be even more of a difference maker than you are right now? There's got to be some type of Olympic hangover. There wasn't yesterday for Tage Thompson. We'll get into that here at the bottom of the hour, and what I considered one of the cooler moments that we've seen in hockey this year. I will say this, and we'll continue to talk about Dylan Larkin and his impact and how important he is. And I truly believe he has taken that next step. I think a lot of players on that team, this is what winning does, man. Okay. This is not one of those, well, it's just one game. They didn't go out and just beat the Seattle Kraken, for crying out loud. All right. They went out and beat the best team in the world, we thought, going in. They beat another team that was considered a medal contender in Sweden. The experience, the camaraderie, as Jack Hughes put it, the brotherhood, that is super contagious. You can't duplicate it, but you can do the very best you possibly can to try and take characteristics and things that you did with them and carry it over onto your team. Michael Rasmussen doesn't understand what was going on in the Village, but Dylan Larkin does. Dylan Larkin can then take maybe some of the conversations they had, some of the answers that he's had, and some of the things that they did to show how the connection between certain players grew.
Yeah.
And then you can use that to become a closer team too. Not that the Red Wings aren't close, but there's always that one element that you would like to explore a little bit more and feel like you can do better at.
Do you think that carries over? Like, do you believe that like Dylan Larkin's going to carry that over?
Well, when he says, I think winning does. I do.
Agreed.
The Red Wings have a good balance, I believe, but they've got guys on their team, and this is where I struggle with it. Patrick Kane's won 3 cups. How come that hasn't carried over? It's tough in team sports.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But the more winners you get, the more stories you can share with one another, the more experiences you gain, and it helps others on your team.
And also, to put it simply, I mean, it can't
done
hurt.
For Dylan Larkin and everybody on Team USA is they recognize, it doesn't mean they're always going to play at this level, okay? But they recognize what it does take. And without beating a dead horse, they can always go to their teammates and say, this is something that I've learned. You don't have to preface it by saying that, but this is something I've learned. This is how we get through this part of it. This is what we do to prepare for this part of it. They may have learned something from Mike Sullivan during a practice as they were working their way through the Olympics and said, you know what? We had this really cool drill. I think we should do this. We've got this really cool play. Why don't we try this? Those are the things that I think you gain invaluable experience in doing. It doesn't mean you're always going to win. It doesn't mean that play is always going to work. And it doesn't mean your advice is always going to be heated or work either. But it does open up your mind a little bit with these things. And I think that experience is going to make Dylan Larkin, who I think is a very good leader, I think Dylan Larkin's going to become a better leader on this. And I think players, not that they don't respect him already, because they absolutely do. But I'm telling you, man, when you see a guy who just was a key part of winning the gold medal, you know, Winnipeg is looking at Connor Hellebuck much differently today. I don't know about Kyle Connor, because I like Kyle Connor. I think he's a really good player. He wasn't dressed the last 3 games for Team USA. So I'm not saying he goes in and he starts commanding a bunch of this, that, and the other thing. Connor Hellebuck, you damn right he does. Austin Matthews, you damn right he does. Jack Eichel, if they didn't already, you're talking about just one of 2 guys to ever win a Hobey Baker, a gold medal, and a Stanley Cup. You're damn right he commands more respect coming in. And I think the guy who's become the American hero is Jack Hughes. And he did something else last night that makes you go, wow, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this. The respect is overflowing. We'll get to that when we come back on a Tullymore Thursday brought to you by Meyer. Stay with us.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
I'm so proud and I'm so happy that the men's and women's USA hockey teams brought gold medals back to the United States of America. I'm so proud to represent the New Jersey Devils organization. And I'm so proud to represent the great state of New Jersey. So proud.
It keeps just getting better and better for Jack Hughes. Somebody put on social media the other day, this guy is an athlete I didn't even know about until a few days ago. Now he's become my favorite athlete. And I think that's a really good description, considering this is the guy who scored the golden goal. He's not the only reason. He never claims to be the only reason. The whole team, that whole team, is emblematic of what you want every team in every sport to be, your team. And that is unselfish, a willingness to acknowledge the greatness of others on your team, and a team that does
quite literally,
they does everything the right way.
They
right?
are
the
generational
way they
heroes.
practice, yeah, the way they practice, the way they play the game, that there's no panic. You want your team to be able to respond. You want your team to be able to represent your team the right way, the name on the back, the name on the front, all the things, all those cliches.
Yeah.
This team did all of that. And this young man who struggled in the Four Nations tournament and was willing to admit that, his willingness to go out there and take that mantle, take that microphone every time when people talk and want to talk to him and want to share that. Most people, it's a me moment. Did you see what he did last night for New Jersey? Did you see what happened when they brought him out onto the ice
it was
to
awesome.
Acknowledge that he scored the golden goal? Listen to what he did. Well, here's what he did. What he did was he brought Tage Thompson. They were playing Buffalo. They lost to Buffalo last night. Thompson had a goal. He said, come on out. He brought somebody from the opposition. Come on out. And the two of them, I mean, I got choked up. The two of them waved to the crowd, and the crowd was chanting USA. How does that not bring you together? I don't care how you feel about one person or another. How does that not create a sense of emotional pride by you?
Outstanding.
And say to yourself, I would want my son to do that. How does somebody look at Team USA when they go out there and they bring Johnny Gaudreau's jersey out there and say, that is classy? How does somebody look at Dylan Larkin and Zach Werenski go and spontaneously bring Johnny Gaudreau's two sons, our two kids out there onto the ice to take a picture and have the mom and dad crying and recognize their son who would have been on that team if not being killed by a drunk driver? That is how I would want my child, my team, or me specifically to act. I would hope I would have that wherewithal. Instead of look at everybody, let the confetti rain, here I am. It is more about, come on, guys, we did this together. Let's make sure we don't forget the fallen one.
And about the country.
And let's bring his kids out to make sure their name and they have a keepsake that will allow them to remember parts of their father, since they won't remember their father for the rest of their lives. Find me the negative in any of that storyline, please. There is no negative. It is all positive. It is all what you would want from your son, your daughter, or yourself in a situation like that. And then, so Jack Hughes does that. He calls Tage Thompson out. Listen to what Jack Hughes had to say about it.
We were going to do a little celebration before the game. You know, I was laying in bed before my nap, and I was thinking about, obviously, the Tage thing. And it's just like, it'll never be about one person, and it's always about the team and that group of guys. And, you know, to share that moment with Tage, I hope that when he has his first game in Buffalo, they do something for him, and I hope he's playing one of his American teammates, and he can do the same thing. So,
paying it forward, man. I mean, do me a favor. You can take it word by word if you'd like. Find me what is negative about that.
Nothing.
All he's doing, you know what he's doing? He didn't just score the golden goal for an Olympic medal for the first time since 1980 or beat Canada in an Olympic game since 1960. You know what he's doing? He has created some of the greatest moments in United States sports history, not hockey history, United States sports history. People should, maybe it gets erased, you never know in today's day and age. People should be looking back at what he has done, what he has said, and how he has handled himself, and use it as a tutorial and say, you know what? This is what it's all about. Why can't you be like Jack? He's a young kid. He's 24 years old. He's experienced great heartache already, losing in the World Juniors. And if you ever look at that, the emotion that he felt, and for him, not just draping himself in the American flag, but just the fact that it even comes to mind that I'm going to do something with Tage Thompson. I don't know how well they knew one another before the Olympics, but there's a 2-week to 2.5 week span that Jack Hughes and Tage Thompson and everybody else in that room
become brothers. Yes.
Right. And he
then
said
they want
it's
to
a
honor each
brotherhood.
other.
The USA brotherhood is so strong. And that's what he's referring to. And he's living it. He's not just saying it. He is walking the walk.
He feels it.
He looks and he says, you know what I'm doing? I'm bringing my guy out here. I'm bringing this guy out here. He doesn't wear a New Jersey Devils uniform, but he and I shared something that no one will ever take away. I remember one time walking at Ohio Stadium, getting ready for Michigan and Ohio State. And I was there to help broadcast the game. I was actually doing sidelines. All right. And I was walking across the field before the game with my friend John Wangler and a teammate of his. This is actually the day before. And they were sharing stories. And Wangs and I were close. Okay. We've worked together for a long time. We've become very close. He's got great family, and we share a lot of things. And we're walking across, and I realize, you know what? I mean, they've got something. And I was just smiling while listening to the stories. They've got something nobody else can come close to. I don't care how close you may be to a certain person. When they have those types of experiences, you just can't relate. And I could not relate. There are going to be times for the rest of their lives with every single one of those players on Team USA, because of what they went through in the village, what they talked about in between the third period and overtime against Canada, that they'll be able to reflect on, and nobody else can relate. They'll have to just sit back and listen. You could be a teammate of Dylan Larkin's, okay? You could be somebody on his line. Alex DeBrincat cannot relate to what Dylan Larkin experienced with Tage Thompson and Quinn Hughes and Jack Hughes and Jacob Slavin and all those guys.
Yeah, nobody on the Red Wings can. I mean,
yeah. And
Lucas
that is
Raymond can at least experience like the.
But not when you win gold.
Playing
if you're not
games,
winning, but if you're not winning a medal, it's the sense of accomplishment at the end of the journey,
right?
More than anything else. Here's another insane number for you. You ready? 49% of the tickets sold at the Prudential Center last night for the Devils and Sabres game last night came after Jack Hughes scored the game winner for Team USA to win gold. 49%. Yeah. Half the arena decided, you know what? Our guy who wears a New Jersey Devils uniform on a regular basis just scored the game-winning goal. We're going to now go watch him play for the first time when he comes back. That's quite an impact.
Because they had to anticipate something special happening, right? At least that's how I read it.
I think it's more about, yeah, for sure. But I think they wanted to say thank you. It's their way of saying, you know what? I want to show up at the first game back. I want to be able to say, you know what? I want to be able to chant with this guy, and I want to be able to say thank you for giving me. For some, it may be the moment of a lifetime.
No doubt.
Okay. And for some young kids, and I've seen some news reports about it early this morning, where these kids are so fired up. Those guys, those 20 guys, 20 plus guys, all have created a new hockey culture. in the United States of America. They've done this for the entire country, where young kids DVR'd that, taped it, however you want to say it. They're going to look back time and time and time again, and they're going to think about it, man. I mean, the 1980 Miracle, it never gets old. They made a movie out of it. Somebody will probably make a movie out of this, okay? And it's never going to get old for those guys. And for these kids, you saw them at the game last night. I want to be Jack Hughes. How many athletes can say that? How many athletes can say there's kids out there, they can buy their jersey all they want. Doesn't mean that they necessarily want to be them. Just happens to be one of their favorite players, for example.
Yeah, it's a handful.
There's kids everywhere in the United States. Now they go, I want to be Jack Hughes. I want what that guy just delivered. That's that specific moment. It's an iconic moment. There are big moments. There are great moments. There are game-winning moments. We see it on a pretty regular basis in our sports society. How many have iconic moments?
And how many kids do you think decided to lace up the skates based on what the U.S. just did? That's what I think is really cool.
What are some of those iconic moments? So obvious, not that I see these. Jesse Owens in 1936 in Berlin had an iconic moment, right? Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947. It was an iconic moment. When Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run in 1973 off Al Downing and the Dodgers in Atlanta, that is an iconic moment.
What year was that again?
That was 1973.
So do you remember watching that?
Tom House was in the bullpen, and he gathered the baseball and rushed to home plate and gave the ball to Hank Aaron.
That's awesome.
I mean, if you ever look at the replay of that, there are people running on the field to congratulate him.
Right. Like pedestrians.
Think about that.
That's not the word.
It's absolutely nuts that fans are running onto the field to congratulate him. It's one thing after you win a World Series or you win an ALCS like Chris Chambliss did for the Yankees, I believe it was in 1977 or 1978, and people are running onto the field. There's nobody stopping it. There's no little old lady who's wearing a jacket that says security. There's no police officer on a horse. People are running out onto the field.
Rounding
and Chris Chambliss is having to bowl them over. He is knocking them left and right. And Chris Chambliss was a big guy as a first baseman for the Yankees in order for him to get to home plate after hitting the home run at Yankee Stadium. That's similar to what you saw with Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron hits number 715 to left field. He's trotting around second base. Two dudes are running next to him in crew necks, tapping him on the back and saying, way to go, Hank. We'll see you later at the bar. It's unbelievable.
Photo. Yeah.
It is. So that is iconic, right? Pete Rose becoming the all-time hits leader when he hits it off Eric Shaw of the San Diego Padres in 1985. That is iconic. Wayne Gretzky scoring the goal that passed Gordie Howe in 1994 for the LA Kings is iconic. Jack Hughes joins a very select few with those types of iconic moments. It's not too dissimilar, I don't think, from where were you when it was announced that John Lennon died? Where were you when it was announced that Magic Johnson was HIV positive?
If I had to ask you, Shep, sorry to put you on the spot, but like sports exclusive, like what is the most memorable single moment for you? Like you remember where you were when this happened, like any sports moment, you know, whether it's the Tigers winning in 84 or
that's where my mind immediately goes. When Kirk Gibson crosses home plate after the home run off Goose Gossage in 1984, that's the iconic moment. And I've got it here on my bar too. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've had that since I was in high school. I'll never forget when the Red Wings won their first cup in 97 at Joe Louis Arena, and I was standing in I came up.
Oh, you were there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was in the locker room and everything. Yeah. I just didn't go to Philadelphia when they.
But 97, you were there.
Washington. Well, I'm sorry, Washington when they clinched. But yeah, 97. Yeah, I covered that team just about every single game. Yeah. So I remember being they have Joe Louis Arena was a pit. They had very select few members in the press box. The press box was super small. Then they had an alternative press box that was basically a suite. Okay, that was a piece of crap too. And then they had most of us in the bowels of Joe Louis. And it was a massive media room. It's just where they did all the press conference. And we were sitting there, and I said, I'm not missing this. You're basically watching the game on TV. So I walked up to the first level, and I stood next to a Detroit police officer as the final moments were being counted down. And then they celebrated. And I looked at the cop, and he looked at me, and we both had a tear in our eye because of how long it had been. And to see Steve Yzerman get the Stanley Cup and raise it was one of the more.
Steve Yzerman, come get
special.
it. That is so awesome.
Yeah. So those are iconic moments, but those are iconic moments for us in Detroit. I don't think anybody looks at that in our country and says, man, when Kirk Gibson is going like this, crossing home plate, or when Mickey Lolich jumps into the arms of Bill Freehan after winning Game 7 in St. Louis to beat the Cardinals for Detroit's third world championship. I don't think people look at that as iconic moments.
Or Isaiah, heaven must be like this. It's not.
That's in the locker room, but him, the floater by Joe Dumars, and then the various other things that they use to celebrate on the field. Yes. I'm talking about from a
nationally,
that everybody remembers. I mean, there's going to be people in LA who remember the Magic Johnson skyhook against Boston and so on and so forth. I get that. Or, the flu game by Michael Jordan.
But you're talking
But it's
nationally.
not necessarily a national iconic moment. Hank Aaron's home run was an iconic moment. Wayne Gretzky's goal was an iconic moment. What Jack Hughes did, Michael Ruzioni, as you said, even though that was against Russia in the semis, they still had to beat Finland. Not many people remember who scored in the game against Finland, right? The two things that are most iconic, I believe, maybe three, from the whole Olympics regarding the men's U.S. hockey team was the Quinn Hughes overtime winner, the Connor Hellebuyck save with a paddle on Devon Toews.
Outstanding.
And Jack Hughes's golden goal. There literally were three iconic moments in sports in one Olympics.
Connor Hellebuyck, my God, that was amazing.
Okay, when we come back, we will dive into a little bit of Dan Campbell at the Combine, reflect on owning 2025. If we have time, a website that has rated the lineups in Major League Baseball, where the Tigers sit. We'll get to that, plus at 8:35, Ian Cummings from the Pro Football Network. Here on X's and Bros, we've been brought to you this hour by Meijer.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
you think about, man, all that you've gone through and what you've built and where you're trying to go, and knowing that you've fallen short, and then look, last year was frustrating, man. That was and it's nobody's fault but our own, and that starts with me. It makes you go back. It's one thing to have lip service, about, man, not being complacent or entitled or all these things, and you say it, but then you turn around and go, you know what, did we really live that? Did I live that? Did we? It doesn't mean anything happened on purpose. It's just sometimes, man, competition is good for everybody. Yep. Competition is good, and bringing in guys that make other guys feel uncomfortable is great for everybody. Yep. It was good for me as a player. It's good for any player on the roster, no matter how good you are. You need somebody to push you.
Amen to that. That's Dan Campbell at the Combine, because his guys were disappointing last year. They've got to own it. They have owned it. Now it's time to fix it. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 throughout the great state of Michigan, and also coming to you via stream on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook as well. So we welcome any comments you may have in that regard, or any phone calls, or any and apparently we're having some trouble with the phone lines, because some people have texted me and said they're trying to call 866-838-4843. That's 866-838-4843. Or you can text us, Sports Radio 21000. So apologize for any technical difficulties. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but we'll try to get it fixed as quickly as possible. Okay. In case you missed it yesterday or last night, Pistons a winner over OKC, 124-116. Jalen Duren, 29 points, 14 boards. 3 straight games of at least 20 points and 10 rebounds. And 27th double-double. Cade Cunningham, much better offensively than he was against the Spurs. He had 29 points and 13 assists. That gives him 31 double-doubles. Detroit, as impressive as their season has been, at 19-7 against teams over 500, is a very impressive statistic. And they're going to host a team that is over 500 on Friday against Cleveland. So they lose to San Antonio. They beat OKC. Now they got Cleveland. It's a big one. Cleveland losing to Milwaukee last night in a close one. Michigan State is on the floor tonight at Purdue. Both teams 22-5 on the year and 12-4 in conference play. Red Wings are in Ottawa tonight, and the Tigers split in a split squad yesterday. They tied a game and they lost a game, meaning they are still winless in spring training play. And it's not a huge deal, right? Here's the Mitch Lanswell poll question. Which player is most likely to be moved? Is it Max Crosby of the Raiders? Is it Kyler Murray of the Cardinals? Is it A.J. Brown of the Eagles? Almost said Flyers. Or Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins? You can vote as often as you want. We've retweeted it as well. At XB Mornings is our Twitter handle. You can follow me on Shep Matt, and we will give you the results on a Friday morning in the 8 o'clock hour. We go to the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Our good friend Freddie is standing by. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Shep. How are you?
Good, buddy. Thank you for the phone call.
Yes, I got 3 iconic moments that with a little bit of a twist. Okay. And the first one's going to be when Wayne Gretzky was traded. Now, I know it has nothing to do with the actual on ice, but him being traded changed the whole dynamic of hockey. And since he's been traded, Canada's only won 1 Stanley Cup. The United States have won all the Stanley Cups. And he changed the dynamic of hockey. L.A.,
so
Arizona, Florida.
Right. 1988, right? He changed the dynamic of hockey, where you've got teams in California, you've got teams in Florida, you've got a team in Arizona. Yes, 100%. It is, I think, arguably the biggest move that the sport has ever seen, quite honestly. I still remember where I was when that happened. Listened on the AM station, and things have changed ever since. The second one for me, it's amazing. It really is amazing, isn't it? It's amazing what one player can deliver. I mean, they surged in television ratings. Okay, they inspired this whole wave of hockey stars. There's no doubt about that. It actually elevated the NHL to a much more legitimate and followed league, if you will. And then, as you and I just mentioned, when Bruce McNall finally pulled that trigger, look at how many teams suddenly, and merchandise too. Let's not forget about merchandise, but look at how many teams found their way into, warmer and Western cultures. Yeah.
And then the other two for me is another one that wasn't on the actual court, but Michael Jordan, when he did the sports drink commercial, the way we see marketing and that we see the players making money besides their contracts for playing the game was really because of that commercial, the sports drink commercial. Absolutely amazing what he did for marketing. And the last one, Tiger Woods winning the Masters. He did for the game of golf. How many people he has made rich? Players, pro shops, the golf courses, the guys covering the actual game of golf.
Sure.
They all become multi-millionaires because he joined the tour and won that Masters in '97.
That's an excellent one. I wonder if Tiger Woods, how much impact he had on the Golf Channel.
Absolutely.
The only thing I would say to Jordan and the endorsements, and I'm sorry, we're up against it. We got to hit it. Have a great day. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Shep.
Is Arnold Palmer was doing a lot of commercials, including Pennzoil, which was the big one for him before Michael Jordan did the Gatorade and the Hanes and all that other stuff. I think it's big. Don't get me wrong. I just wonder, and it took it to another level. But remember, Arnold Palmer was making buku dollars doing Pennzoil. Anyway, those are really good ones. I love the last one, the impact. That is iconic. I agree with that. That might be another iconic moment, depending on which tournament it was, with him doing the fist pump in his Sunday red outfit. Quick timeout. On the other side, we'll dive into the Tigers lineup and where a website has them ranked going into the season. That's next here on X's and Bros, and we're brought to you this hour by Avelo Airlines.
It's time to go on the court.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Michigan clinched a share of the Big Ten championship this week with a win against Minnesota, the 16th such title in school history and the first since 2021. While this club has grander goals in its sights, a regular season crown is no small achievement. Senior Roddy Gale Jr. said it means a lot because of the way the team came together over the summer. Remember, Michigan features 4 new starters. He respectfully compared it to checking one thing off of a to-do list. The Wolverines can clinch the crown outright Friday at Illinois, a victory that would give them a school record 17 conference wins and would also seem to secure a top seed for the NCAA tournament.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLyonsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Save a good deal more during the Meijer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each, like extra large navel oranges, Meijer frozen personal pizza, and Meijer facial tissue. And now, shopping dollar deals in our weekly ad just got easier. Click an item and add it to your cart. It's that simple. The Meijer Dollar Deal Sale and an easier way to shop our digital ad. That's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us and some of the best that we have on a daily basis. So make sure you check out XB Mornings, all right, and look for X's and Bros throughout. We will talk here in about 20 minutes or so with Ian Cummings from the NFL Combine. He is there in Indianapolis to get a pulse on who's impressed him so far and what kind of players are the Lions bringing in to talk to. It sure looks like they're bringing in as many guys at positions of need as you can imagine. So Dan Campbell has talked about that. We played a little bit of it for you this morning, and we will talk with him at 35 after the hour. All right. ESPN has come out with the ranking of lineups. We've kind of kept you abreast in case you haven't read them on what Buster Olney has said about the various positions and the top 10 at each of those positions and how many Tigers are there. Derek Skubal, obviously, number 1 in pitching. Gleyber Torres was number 6 in second baseman. Haven't seen any Tiger on a third base or a shortstop, and rightfully so. We'll continue to keep you updated on something like that. But their rankings for their lineup has come out, or the lineups in Major League Baseball by ESPN.com. And it's a fascinating list on where they rank them. It's part of the reason I've been concerned about this team a little bit, as much as I greatly appreciate what they did to the pitching staff and signing Framber Valdez and signing Justin Verlander and re-signing Kyle Finnegan. The Kenley Jansen thing doesn't really move me much at all, but I love their pitching. I don't know how you can't. I think maybe third best in the American League for me right now. Their lineup is more concerning, and I've said that. Their defense is probably more concerning than their lineup, especially their infield defense, unless something drastically changes. Colt Keith, Zach McKinstry at third base. McKinstry's a better fielding third baseman. Neither one you're going to write home about. Javier Baez at shortstop or McKinstry at shortstop. A lot of times you got to make the routine plays, and McKinstry does that probably as well as just about anybody. Second base, Gleyber Torres, and Spencer Torkelson, average. All right, Dylan Dingler, really good. So the infield does concern me a little bit. The ESPN article is more about their lineup and what their lineup projections will be in terms of giving them wins. They grade them on hit, on patience, on power, on base running, on durability, depth, stars, holes. They take a lot into account here. It's no surprise that the number 1 lineup is the defending World Series champ LA Dodgers. When you've got Ohtani and Tucker and Betts and Freeman and Smith and Teoscar Hernandez and Max Muncy and Tommy Edman and Andy Paez, there is not a hole in that lineup. Okay, 8 and 9. Okay, get real nitpicky about Edman, who was the NLCS MVP 2 years ago, and Paez. Go right ahead. It's as good as it gets. Maybe as good as you've ever seen, too, by the way. They have the Braves at number 2. Acuna, Drake Baldwin, who really came on last year, Olsen, Profar, Riley, Albies, Michael Harris, Mike Yastrzemski is in right, Hassan Kim, who I don't think is going to play every day, but I like him. I like him as a player that you can use in some different spots, second base, shortstop, maybe even third base. They've got the Mets third, especially with the addition of Bichette, because you've got Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, who they brought on board, Luis Robert batting 8th. I mean, that's a good lineup. Seattle is 4. So if you're looking for American League teams, that's the first team you see. And again, this is not the Bible here. This is just ESPN's methodology of grading the lineups. Seattle at 4. The best offense they feel in the American League with Brendan Donovan, Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Josh Naylor, Randy Arozarena, Luke Raley, of course, J.P. Crawford at the bottom, who can get on base for you. It's a little swing and miss. Then it's Toronto. Then it's the A's. It's underrated what the A's can do. Kurtz is good. Langoliers is good. Soderstrom, Brent Rooker. You were waiting for the wheels to fall off. It never came. Jeff McNeil was traded there. Lawrence Butler can play both sides. Then the Cubs. Then the Yankees. Okay. Ben Rice is an underrated player there. And you're wondering, well, where are the Tigers? Where would you rank the Tigers in Major League Baseball in terms of just their lineup? We're not talking about pitching here. We're talking about their lineup. Top to bottom, 1 through 9. Where do you think they rank? ESPN.com has them at 22. 22. For what it's worth, when you're looking at Major League Baseball, of the 30 teams, they are 22. And here's what they have. Hit, D-. Patience, C-. Power, complained about it for a while now, C. Base running, F. That's an unfair grade. They were really good at going first to third. If all you're looking for is stolen bases, you can give them an F. It's not what base running is. It's not just about stealing bases. It's taking the extra base that's really important. Durability, D+. I don't know why that comes from into play. Maybe because Parker Meadows gets hurt. Riley Green has been hurt. There's a lot of guys who've been hurt, but are they missing an extended period of time? Depth, A+. That surprises me. They have 1 star, and they have a lot of holes. And they base it on the lineup of Parker Meadows, Gleyber Torres, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, Wenzel Perez, Zach McKinstry, Dylan Dingler, Colt Keith. Interesting that Javier Baez is not in that mix. Here's the synopsis. I love this profile because I'm certain it's going to be wildly off. And I think it'll be off because the Tigers keep iterating their lineup as the season goes along. In other words, it's going to change. You're going to see some guys on this team break camp, and by the time June rolls around, you're going to see some different names. Not because of injury either, because other guys are just better than they are. Anyway, it's a hard thing to predict, they write. For example, in 2 weeks, it might make sense to plug Kevin McGonigal in as an early everyday player. 2 weeks is probably way too soon. That's why I said June. You're not going to, unless there's a rash of injuries, you're not doing that. I'll reiterate, a guy who hit about 254 in AA. When you call him up, you want him to play every single day. You don't bring him up to sit but 1 game in a week series or in the back-to-back series. If you had 2 series in a week, you don't want him sitting most of those series. You want him playing. They write right now, it's probably jumping the gun. Yet McGonigal's forecast is one of the reasons why Detroit's depth rating is MLB's best. So if the injuries come, the Tigers might actually get better as they unfurl their fill-ins. It's a team that is a lot of fun even beyond its standout rotation. Well, if you're ranked 22nd, I don't know how much fun you are. That's number one. Number two, if they get better with the injuries coming, then you would have hoped the franchise would have taken the players who are going to make the team more fun, replacing the guys who are injured, would have taken them in the first place. But that's where they've got them. I thought you'd find that interesting. 22 out of 30. The only teams worse, Pittsburgh, which, by the way, they say that lineup leads to 78 wins, which shows you how important the Tigers pitching staff is. The teams behind them, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Cleveland, the White Sox, Nationals, Marlins, and Rockies. So 2 teams within the division. All right, when we come back, no division here. We're all on the same page. It's about the NFL Combine. Ian Cummings from the Pro Football Network joins us on the other side. We're brought to you by Avelo Airlines.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Ferris Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
12:35 after the hour. Welcome back on a Tullymore Thursday. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Avelo Airlines. Go to AveloAir.com today to book your trip direct from Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Detroit to Lakeland. We know this. They can also get you to Indianapolis. That's where Ian Cummings from the Pro Football Network is. Outstanding job covering the NFL and covering the Combine for Pro Football Network. You can follow him on Twitter at IC_draft. And he joins us here on a Tullymore Thursday. Ian, appreciate it as always. I know you do this all the time, and I'm sure it never gets old for you. But what's the best feeling about going there to the Combine and getting a look at the players that perhaps in a different way than you would have seen them during the regular season?
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a, you don't want it to be a made it moment, right? But it's always a little surreal to be there in person. And at the Senior Bowl this year, it was the same experience. But I think seeing these guys in person, you get a different feel for how big they actually are and how fast they actually move. Like, these guys are the cream of the crop. This is the 1% in terms of athletic talent and what they bring to the table. And in a way, it kind of emphasizes how important the process of splitting hairs is, like an evaluation has to be so complex and so intricate because that's how you start to separate these really impressive physical talents, right? So, but also for the NFL Combine in particular, I think for teams and front office executives and coaches, getting in a room with these guys and talking to them one-on-one and getting a feel for their culture fit, their personality, that is just as important too. So I think the Combine is a vital information gathering event. It's humbling to be there, and I'm not there this year. I'm actually covering it remotely, but I have been there before. And being there in person, it's really surreal, right? It's a really cool experience, but also you're humbled by how important it is to the process.
Help me on why you think it's still important when we see so many guys skip the Combine and do their own pro day.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those things where, and here's the thing, athletic testing that's the part of it that people always gravitate to, right? For me, and when I started scouting, I was I held a little more importance in the testing. I still do, right? But to me, the athletic testing part is more of a cross-checking evaluation, right? If a player is athletic, you can usually see that on film, and you can usually delineate what type of athlete he is, right? Is he a quick mover? Is he explosive, a little bit lumbering? Is he fluid or a little stiff in the hips? Like, all of those things you can see on the film, right? So the Combine does a really good job of quantifying that. But I would also say it can be just as dangerous if, say, a player who is expected to be fast runs a 4.2 40-yard dash. We've seen teams before double count that and overinflate that when in fact he needs a lot of work to, be a complete football player, right? So there's danger in overinflating the testing results, but I think where the Combine still holds importance, definitely the off-field stuff, the interviews, the talking to prospects one-on-one, the medical checks to make sure there are no degenerative issues long-term for some prospects, and then I think the on-field drills, like not the testing, but the defensive line going through the bag drills, right, where you see that rotational power when they're weaving in and out, or defensive backs doing the pedal and the half turn in space and seeing how fluid they are, how balanced they are on the move, managing positioning. Those are movements that are fully translatable at the NFL level, right? So I think isolating those is just as important too. Obviously, there's the off-field, the medical, on-field drills, and I think the testing drills are really important for, cross-checking and the measurements, obviously, as well. But there's a lot more other stuff that kind of goes overlooked or is more behind the scenes that I think holds just as much weight.
Ian Cummings from the Pro Football Network joining us here on X's and Bros. You can follow him on Twitter at IC_draft. I'm sure I'm wrong here, but I've always complained for years about the Combine that we're seeing running backs and wide receivers tested in cutoff shirts and shorts. I want to see them with a football in their hand for the getaway and breakaway speed. What do these tests tell us? If a guy's just jumping to touch some type of pole rather than jumping to catch a football, why can't we measure them differently? What's the angle you have on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think there's multiple elements that kind of occlude your view at the combine, right? Like you said, they're not wearing pads. They're in really light wear, and they're just kind of, it's a very controlled environment, I think, at the NFL combine, right? There aren't a lot of delineating factors that could affect movement. You're trying to get that control variable so that you have a very unfiltered view of how athletic a player is in certain modes, running a 40-yard dash, moving side to side, exploding vertically, right, and horizontally. But I think, and also another way that it kind of gets occluded too, a lot of players will trim weight for the NFL combine, right? You'll see them weigh in a little bit lighter than their ideal playing weight or where they're going to be playing at the NFL level because they're trying to run a faster time. They're trying to jump a little bit higher, right? Because those numbers do matter. Teams will view them differently, right? And we've seen year over year, and Kent Lee Platty, Math Bomb on Twitter, does a great job with the relative athletic scores. So like certain teams have certain athletic thresholds that they hit, and some teams are a little more lenient there, right? But if you're an NFL player, you're trying to boost your stock, of course you're going to want to run a faster 40, right? But to your point, it's not always one-to-one translatable on the field. And again, that's why I think it goes back to the film is the most important thing. The film always remains the most important thing. And if a guy runs a 4.29 at the NFL Combine, odds are you're going to see that on the film at some point, right? And you can still isolate that. I think the film is even more valuable because you see it relative to the other 21 guys on the field, right? The other 11 guys on the other side. Like, it provides more of a comparison, right? The combine, you can compare them, one after the other, but I think the film will always remain the most important. The NFL combine, though, it is important for quantifying, for isolating those athletic traits. But again, to your point, I think you're absolutely right. You have to be aware of how it's a little diluted, right? They're weighing a little bit lighter, and also they aren't wearing pads. They're not in a super physical environment, right? It's all about getting a pure, controlled look at what these guys can do.
I like that explanation. Where is this draft deepest, do you think?
I would say wide receiver is a really deep position. It seems like we say that every year, but I think in particular, the amount of mid-round talent, and you're going to see a lot of that at the NFL Combine. Guys like Kendrick Law, Malik Benson, guys like you got Jeff Caldwell from Cincinnati. You have a ton of players who are likely to test really well athletically. Bryce Lance as well, not going to the All-Star circuit, but expected to participate. Like, there's a lot of mid-round talent at wide receiver, and I think in particular for teams trying to get those high opportunistic cost deals in the mid-round range, that can be a really good thing. I would say cornerback is another one, cornerback and safety, even defensive back, a lot of really versatile multi-tools in that position group, and guys who have a chance to really elevate their stock at the combine. I think particularly the safety position, a lot of guys who are a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, but also fill different types of roles, like Jalen Kilgore, more of a hybrid nickel, but can play split field safety if you need him to. You've got Genesis Smith from Arizona, who's more of a single high safety, but super rangy, explosive, and can make plays on the ball. Michael Taffy from Texas is going to be a big event for him, being a little undersized. Again, very, very versatile on the back end. And then you've got your longer, more box support safeties who can fill different roles too, like VJ Payne, Zakee Wheatley, you got Bud Clark, you got Deshaun Singleton. Those two position groups really stand out to me. I'd say edge as well. I think the edge rushing group is very, very deep in the middle rounds this year. There is a little bit of a drop off in the mid to late day 3 range. And, Pat, I know Ruben Bain, David Bailey, Keldrick Falk, all of those top guys have the elements of their profile that invite uncertainty. But I also think you're dealing with a lot of potential energy here. And then you got guys like Akeem Mesidor, who has a ton of raw talent. You've got Cassius Howell and R. Mason Thomas, who it'll be a really big event for them, being undersized edge rushers, to prove their athleticism and quantify that, even though it's visible on film. And then, of course, other mid-round guys. I know Derek Moore tweaked his hamstring, so he won't be testing, unfortunately, but he'll be there at least for medicals and interviews. Jyshawn Barham at Michigan is another one, super athletic and has that projection as a pure edge at the next level. So the talent, you go down the list, I think those 3 position groups really stand out. I'd say interior offensive line is another one that has a lot of potential depth, but, every position group has their good players. So it's going to be fun to see. I think those 3 stand out, but across the board, in particular, this class in the middle round range, there's a ton of value to offer.
Where would the weakest position come from? I think it's quarterback, but what would you say?
Oh yeah, I think quarterback. It's really that's the easy one. I think Fernando Mendoza, widely expected to go number 1 overall, and I do think he is worthy of that for the Raiders, who wouldn't need to trade up any capital. Right, they're in that position; they can just take him. But past Fernando Mendoza, I think you're looking at a lot of uncertainty. Right, Ty Simpson is obviously the one in the best position to kind of claim that potential first round position if he wanted to, but right now I have him as a fringe day 2 player. I don't think I wouldn't take him round 1 at this moment, and I think he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to prove himself to teams. We know that he was dealing with a minor injury over the latter course of the season. We know he was playing really high-level ball in the mid-level stretch, but down the stretch, in later conference play and in the CFP playoffs, really didn't look like the same guy. And I think for a player like Ty Simpson, right, my comp for him has always been Mark Bulger. I think he's a player who can be a solid starter for you, right? But can he elevate you to Super Bowl contention? Right now, I'm not so sure. And he doesn't quite have elite physical talent. I think he's got good, not great talent in terms of athleticism, arm talent, velocity, but there is a ceiling there. And so you look at that, and looking at the operational framework, the margin for error on the operational side is lower when you don't have that elite physical talent to elevate a roster, right? So I think Ty Simpson at the NFL Combine, doing well in the interviews and on the whiteboard is going to be big. I think if he throws, staying mechanically congruent and staying accurate, right? Because I know some inconsistency and volatility with accuracy was a big concern for him down the stretch as well. But he's got a chance here to at least win some good faith and win some favor with evaluators. Garrett Nussmeier is another wild card. I know he had a good end of the Senior Bowl week, but of course there's the middling talent argument with him too. And again, kind of the same thing, similar realm to Simpson. Operationally, he's a little too volatile, right? He's a really good processor, especially pre-snap. We know he has that mental acuity, but for that, taking that into account, there are too many head-scratching decisions and misses that show up on film. That leaves some pause there. And then, of course, you've got the talented guys, the raw talent like Taylor Green, Cole Payton. But again, we need to see more from them too. So quarterback, massive wild card past Fernando Mendoza. I would also say, in terms of weakest position group, offensive tackle, not because there's a lack of talent, but I think there is a relative lack of pure offensive tackles in this class, right? Francis Mauigoa, there's concerns that the arm length might push him inside the guard. I think he can stay at tackle. Caden Proctor, I know he has a decent floor at tackle, but my opinion is that he's probably better long-term at guard. And you get past the players like Monroe Friedling, Blake Miller, Max Ihanator, Demetrius Crownover, and you get more and more into players who are likely to at least take time at guard at the NFL level. So if you're looking for a mid-round developmental tackle, that range is a little sparse this year too.
And that is a lot of studying. That's a lot of names and a lot of information. I'll be honest with you, the quarterbacks, I know we get too caught up in them. I wouldn't take any of them in the first round. I think Mendoza was a phenomenal college player. I love him, but he's not a franchise quarterback. And I think, and I want your thoughts as a scout before we let you go. Fan bases want to draft based on need. Most teams draft on their big board, right? At least I hope they do. Sure. Maybe the bad teams don't do it that way. Maybe they draft for need. I like your philosophy on a draft philosophy, number one. And number two, who is the best player? Not by position and not by need. I want the best player. Who do you think is the best player in this draft that you would take no matter what you needed if you were a football team?
Two really good questions. And it's the first one, the way that I like to look at it, you have team need and you have best player available, right? Those are the two ends of the spectrum that people debate constantly every single year. I look at it as a sliding scale, right? I don't think you're ever going to pick 100% best player available. Rarely you're going to. Some teams have the luxury to do that, but 99.9% of the time, there is a little bit of need in that. Like either we have an immediate need or we have a long-term need. And then we filter that through. Here are the players that at least fit some of those, who fill some of those needs. And then who's the best balance of value and need, right? So I think it's a sliding scale. You're never going to be 100% of the other. And I look at the Raiders at number one overall as a great example, right? Fernando Mendoza does have a first-round grade for me, but I do agree to an extent. He's not quite the caliber of QB prospect that, say, Drake May was or Caleb Williams was, right? I don't quite have that high of a grade on Fernando Mendoza. But you look at the Las Vegas Raiders. Is QB the top need? Feasibly, they could stick with Geno Smith for another year and go QB in 2027, but you're at the number one overall pick. You don't have to trade up additional capital, and you get a QB in Fernando Mendoza, who at least has an early to mid first round grade for me, right? I think he's worth that pick if you have a need and you don't have to give up additional capital and you have the resources to build the team up around him, right? So he's not the top overall player, but if an opportunity is present and he's good enough to justify the pick, those things take it away from me. If we were talking about Ty Simpson, a fringe round 1, round 2 guy going first overall, I'd say no, that's too high, right? But it's a sliding scale. You look at the value of the board, you look at the degree of team need, and you try to come to a consensus on what's the best move long term. So it's a sliding scale. It's never 100% for me, but and that makes the discussions for the next player very difficult, because who's my top overall player regardless of position? It's Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. I think looking at his film, some of the cleanest film that I've ever evaluated in terms of my draft, my time in the draft. I think not the biggest size guy, right? He's listed at 6'5", 205 or 6 foot 205. We'll see what he measures in at and how he tests if he does. But looking at the film, man, I mean, this guy is the consummate glue guy, the multi-tool, the Swiss Army knife on the back end, where he can play 2 high, he can play single high, he can rove in the box, he can play big nickel against tight ends if you need him to, resisting rub routes over the middle of the field, and then just rock solid and run support, where he can scrape off of blocks, he can make tackles in pursuit, he can close ground, and then when he's given opportunity, he can make plays at the catch point too. So that's where it factors in. That's my best overall player.
That's awesome. I could talk to you for hours, man. You know your stuff. I respect the hell out of that, and I love your preparation. Thanks for the knowledge today. Keep up the great work, Ian. Appreciate the time, and hope we can talk again soon. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Ian Cummings from Pro Football Network. Wow. That dude knows his stuff, does he not? Real quick. The Daily Wager was a winner last night because we took the Pistons given 7.5. They won by 8. What do you have for the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort for tonight?
Well, I have to go Red Wings, and I will go 1.5.
Okay, 1.5. All right, we'll see how that works out.
So they can either lose by a goal or win the game.
And they're in Ottawa tonight. Our thanks to Ian Cummings. Our thanks to you for giving us some of your Tullymore Thursday. We brought to you this hour by Avello Airlines. Don't forget the huge show later on today at 3. We're back tomorrow with you at 6. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right. Absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Avello Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AvelloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill